Hey folks, welcome to week 3 of this crazy project that seems to be doing surprisingly well. So usually I'm talking about geopolitics and history, but there's a huge thing going on YouTube right now with the changes to the partner program that they're doing. Basically, they're doing a rollback of who's eligible for it, and it's all in an effort for a lot of really crazy things that are going on. Before we dig in though, I should probably put on the limits of my perspective. I am a YouTube channel that has, as of this moment, a surprising amount of subscribers, 31,400-ish, which means that I am very much not going to be disqualified for this. So keep in mind my perspective is limited here. So I've been on YouTube for about 11 years now. I started my first account back in 2007 when I had been out of high school for probably about 6-7 months. I started a channel that was YouTube in a very different time in its history. It had not been bought by Google yet. It still had video responses. It had the 10-minute video limit, and there was no thought that this was even a platform that you made money on. It was just a thing, like it was like Tumblr but with videos. Then they started the partner program a few years in. Because some creators were doing so well and making such high quality content, they wanted to make sure that they were supporting these artists. At the beginning, it was just a very few select amount of creators, and you had to apply for the program. I remember that I got into the program around, I think it was like February of 2009, so I guess it's about 9 years ago now. And then I kind of didn't pay attention to YouTube for a number of years. I didn't pay attention to anything that was going on in the background. I made my own stuff. I didn't really worry about the wider world or adapt my content or make anything better. That's why the channel ended its 9-year run. Basically, they had opened up the partner program to anybody who could verify their account with their phone number. And then they've had issues ever since. They've had problems with copyright abuse and just all sorts of really nasty things that they probably didn't anticipate, but they probably should have. So I think that really making the partner program so open was a bad idea in the first place, but now that they're in, they have problems. First of all, the optics are terrible. This comes right after the Logan Paul controversy, and so it looks like YouTube is freaking out and doing all sorts of things and punishing small creators for the acts of people like Logan Paul. It's a bad time to do something like this when you have a controversy so hot on its heels. It also doesn't really solve the problem that is YouTube. I mean, so Hank Green has commented on this decision and is saying that YouTube's probably trying to solve a problem that we don't really think about all that much. So he's talking about people who are breaking copyright, streaming things, taking other people's content, spammers, freebooters, that kind of stuff. It also requires that a channel takes some time to grow before they throw ads on it so they don't accidentally let an ISIS video have an ad run on it or a neo-Nazi video. Doesn't really help because there's assholes on YouTube like Bearing and Sargon of Akkad who have basically weaponized their platform in order to attack anybody left of Adolf Hitler. It's a serious problem for the social sciences and humanities on YouTube, and the fact that there's an entire industry of people who are not going to be demonetized through this whole thing, that are basically professional bullies using their platform to bully small creators who they disagree with, or 2, spreading literal hate and anti-Semitic conspiracy theories and Islamophobia through their platform. They're not doing anything about that. It's also a bad idea to do it in such a sudden and dramatic fashion because, let's face it, when it comes to talking about changes to the YouTube platform, some of the creator community is prone to histrionics. There have been now a number of adpocalypses. There was first the one where the article came out talking about ads running on an ISIS video. A bunch of advertisers pulled out. They started to really ramp up the demonetization process after that. Then this fall with the kid video controversy, where there was a bunch of really weird, really creepy, really inappropriate stuff that was being targeted at children who couldn't even read and abusing the algorithm to make money. That caused another batch of advertisers to pull out that they had to then turn on the red alert and batten down the hatches and figure out what was going on. If you remember last fall, the demonetization got even more paranoid. And then, of course, it seems that some of YouTube's biggest creators can't help but become closeted Nazis, like PewDiePie and JonTron. And now you have one of YouTube's biggest and most famous creators going to the Japanese suicide forest and filming a dead body. Oh my god, Logan Paul, you're such an idiot. However, Google's not really great at communicating the reasons why they're doing things a lot of the time, and it's led to a lot of YouTube creators blowing up these kind of conspiracy theories. For example, there's rumors going around that people are going to lose their end screens, their thumbnails, the ability to have custom URLs, and the ability to live stream. This is all flat out misinformation. So people are really like losing their and making huge conclusions with not much information, which is why Google, if you're going to do something big that you know is going to be controversial, you really need to communicate it in a very, very precise way. And so how big is this? Well, according to YouTube's small press release on this issue, that they're limiting the program now, the partner program, to YouTubers that have over 1,000 subscribers and more than 4,000 accumulated watch hours in the last year. I guess I should say the last 365 days. So according to YouTube, this change is really not going to result in 99% of the people who are being disqualified from losing money. Trust me, there's a lot of like grumbling about the demonetization of channels that have earned less than $100 cumulatively over the entirety of their whole channel. And one thing they don't say too often is that Google doesn't send you a check for your ad revenue until you've earned over $100. So like, don't think that this is going to be destroying the livelihood of small YouTubers. If your channel is small enough that you're getting disqualified, trust me, you're not living off of your YouTube channel. There's another aspect as well, which is that for most YouTubers that are living off of their content, AdSense is a very small part of it. This is the reason why if you want your creators that you like, especially the small ones, to make stuff that you want, support their Patreon. And if you're a small creator, start a Patreon. Because yeah, AdSense is a bit in flux. It's subject to the demands of the market. It's subject to the dangerous like red alert stuff that YouTube is doing. And the entirety of your livelihood is too dependent on another company that does not necessarily always have your interests at heart. So if you're a small creator, you need a Patreon. People might consider doing something with like, I don't know, merchandising or something. The AdSense revenue becomes a very small part of their overall income and very subject to changes based on ad rates. But it does mean that it's going to disincentivize some people. There are a lot of people who come on YouTube thinking that they're going to make it big with a viral video and that just the AdSense alone is going to make them rich. It's a fantasy, but it does get a lot of people incentivized to come on the platform. With no revenue sharing for small creators, those small creators aren't necessarily incentivized to be loyal to YouTube. If a big YouTube competitor comes around that promises to share revenue, like Amazon, a lot of small creators might leave over that. We also haven't found a good way to do things like sponsorships for smaller creators. I worry that it might have a chilling effect on the creator base, but honestly, I am not 100% sure this is the apocalypse people are making it out to be. I'm not exactly sure what problems it's solving, and I think that YouTube needs to be more forthcoming with that, but I do imagine that this was part of a deal that they had to make in order for a lot of advertisers to pull out. I imagine YouTube is losing a lot of money by restricting the advertising real estate on their channel by a huge degree. Think about how many channels fit the criteria. They basically have cut ads on over 90% of the content that is on YouTube. So this is not something that they're doing out of greed or for a desire for more money. This is something they're doing out of a need to survive. They tried doing automated systems to find out what channels were posting good and bad content, but as we saw with over the last year, the demonetization issue has basically ballooned out of control. The machine learning algorithm is getting a lot of false positives. Everybody's talking about demonetization and the disaster it is. So this is their attempt to fix it, is they need to make the partnership program small enough that humans can actually be in the loop for deciding what does and does not get advertised. And given how wide they cast the partnership program, without thinking through the consequences of that, they then had to shrink it. And people don't like when things are taken away from them. And there are a few cases where people who were making some money on it are losing a little bit of their income. One of my friends who runs a channel, Art Explains, is losing his monetization on a channel that has over 1,000 subscribers because he's like 80% of the way there when it comes to the watch time. There might be run-on effects that we don't know about at this point, but I think this is a situation of bad communication on the part of Google and overreaction on behalf of the creator community. But then again, I do lack perspective. I acknowledge that. I'm not being affected by this, so I can't really say anything. But from the outsider point of view, this is where I'm coming from. I am very open to being told that I'm wrong, though. So that's my video for this week. I know I'm getting away from history. I apologize. We'll do something with geopolitics and history next Monday, I promise you. If you like this video, if you want a clarification on what's going on to go across the internet, you could share this video either on your Twitters or your Facebooks or with your subreddit that you love so much. You know, give it a thumbs up and tell the algorithm that this is a good video. Subscribe if you haven't before. I know this is a little outside of my regular things, but I talk about history and stuff. It's really fun. And come back in a few days for more Step Back. Pew, pew, pew.